This is the Scrum feed. In today's show, Paul Dalligan and I will look at the NRL's messiest threesome. Las Vegas delivers again, including a golden point gem. The punters rejoice as the Giraffe Guarantee succeeds, but only just. Plus, we'll look at the rest of the round one matches. Well, Paul, it's a horrible threesome, but they finally sorted something out in court.
They did. It was something that we couldn't predict, and in some ways, unfortunately, the court never had to predict it, because I wouldn't have mind seeing what happens. I know you thought I was on the fence, but I'm still not sure exactly where it would have gone. A lot has happened behind the scenes, which is public knowledge, that the Storm desperately wanted Zac Lomax. They took the Eels to court. They were taking the risk that the court would hold that he's free to do what he likes. Restraint of trade. Courts generally don't like stopping someone from earning a living if they can help it, but there is in place the legal document called a contract, which often doesn't mean much. But what has ended up happening is that the Eels have said, the Storm have offered to get Ryan Madison on their books, pay his salary. Now, he's been in the shop front window for 6 months, so that's quite on big coin as well, 600,000-700,000. So for the Storm offering to pay his salary, obviously Lomax isn't the Eels' concern anymore, but also to top it up several hundred thousand. So you do the maths on that, so we're looking at close to $1 million. But the Eels stood firm, and I think the player who stood firm was Ryan Madison. He wanted 2 years at the Storm, and he was only given 1. So the whole deal fell over on the back of that. So make of that what you will, but I think it's a win for the contract. It's definitely a win for the Eels, and the Storm are significantly out of pocket. And keep in mind, Professor, at the back of all this, the Eels effectively stood up to Peter V'landys, because he certainly wanted Lomax back to the game. So it's interesting that one player could be the cog in all of this falling apart.
You're right. Figures of, I think the final offer from Melbourne Storm without any players was $750,000 just for Lomax himself, and the Eels knocked that one back.
Yes, and there's a lot of heat going towards Madison, because if you're a fringe first grader, he wouldn't make that Parramatta first grade team, and he's being offered a 1-year deal from the Storm. I think I'd take it, but I'm not him. And then I'd back myself to prove myself to earn the second year. So I think the Storm were quite reasonable in not offering him 2 years, and he's got a bit of heat about that. But I tell you who's come out of this shining is the Eels and their integrity. They didn't want to allow their player to just back off, give them a promise after breaking a contract and going to one of their main competitors. So I support the Eels, the stance they've taken this one.
The only thing that happened, Paul, was that Lomax got 1 year taken off the amount of time he has to stand out of the game, so it's the end of 2028. And not only that, the Storm agreed to pay $250,000 of the Eels' costs. So
I thought you were going to say the only people happy with the lawyers, but I mean, I don't know that area overly well in terms of the silk level, but I'm interested in how it would have played out. There's a lot happening as well behind the scenes as well. You never know why certain clubs don't want something before the court. There was apparently some pressure put on NRL headquarters by the Storm to try and make it happen, whether that would have come to anything, but it's not something I think the Storm would have wanted aired in court, perhaps. So there's always reasons, as we know, why these matters fall over, but there's a long history of players who've left for other reasons. The game's been fine. There'll be new players. I like Zac Lomax. No one else will be offering to buy him, I don't think. And he's broken 2 contracts now. He's free to do what he likes, but you only have one reputation in this world and in sport. So his reputation, unfortunately, is you're not going to have him as long as he said he'll be there.
Paul, it was a great start to round one in Las Vegas. It delivered 2 great matches. The Knights getting home against the Cowboys, and the Bulldogs, golden point, if you don't mind, and hearts in mouths.
Well, I did predict the Knights and blow the trumpet this early in the season, but I do love that the city of Newcastle, the passion they have for the team, they have a team to be excited about this year as well. If you would have seen the Knights' firepower, they scored a lot more. I think they scored as many points as they did in a month last year, so they were very impressive. The only concern is Fletcher Sharp, who's their very, very impressive 5'8", has an injury, but we're still waiting on the full diagnosis of that. But a great win for the Knights. They're a smoky for the 8. I think I called that earlier on.
Colin Ponga looked in pretty good form, Paul.
Yes, he did. Well, Fletcher Sharp's actually out, unfortunately, but they've got enough firepower there to deal with. There's mixed reports, actually, on Fletcher Sharp, but Colin Ponga would be in the top 5 players in the game. And he's going to be great to watch this year. Bradman Best out wide as well. So they're going to be great to watch the Knights. I really like that too. Cowboys, not so much.
The second game, Paul, showed everything we wanted to see in defence. 15-14, only 2 tries scored by both teams.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Dogs not as impressive as the hype suggested, or the Dragons were better than expected. Maybe a combination of the both. We were obviously I was quite scathing of the Dragons' prospects. They played quite well. They were valiant. And the coach actually was hoping it would have been a draw. But maybe that's what they deserved. I think they played very well, the Dragons. There's some talent there, some good young players coming through the halves. In particular, Atkinson impressed me more than I was expecting. Your Dogs were good without being great. Stephen Crichton at the end, what can I say, all class.
And Paul Valentine Holmes had several chances to put the game away.
He did, heading back to the stateside where he made his I Have a Dream NFL run for a short while there. He didn't get ice the game, and unfortunately, with this competition and most sports, you've got to take your moments, and the Dragons didn't. So I've got to give credit where it's due. They were impressive, but the Dogs looked like they had a lot more, and they're going to build from that. Lachlan Galvin, impressive, just a very good team, but they got there in the end.
Round 1 continues tonight, Paul. The Storm playing the Eels. Cooper Clark going to make his debut off the bench.
You won't miss him, Professor, because he once weighed in at, you ready for this? 145 kilograms, if you don't mind. So that's a whole lot of prop forward. Cooper Clark, now he's shredded 20 Ks. I wouldn't think he'd get through the Storm pre-season at nearly 150 kegs, but he's dropped 20. It still makes him a pretty big boy. It'd be pretty easy to spot out there tonight. The Storm have a habit of getting journeymen the best out of them, but this is a big young kid that they're going to get the best out of. I think he's tagged as the replacement for Nelson Masaframona, so we'll see how he goes. I am thinking the Storm, but their run of never losing, can you believe it? Never lost a first-round match under Bellamy. He's in danger
23
tonight.
years.
How many years?
23.
So, yeah, I think they'll win, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Eels do. They've got a lot of heat in tonight's match. Mitchell Moses, I think, will win the Dalligan this year. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. It'll be a great match to watch, as are many this round.
And former Storm player Jonah Pezzett in at 5'8" for the Eels.
Yes, he is, alongside Moses. All signs are he's been very impressive. We'll see how it works out. A very strange arrangement to have a player there just for 1 year, but it may work for the Eels. We will see. Everything I'm hearing from the Eels is positive, including this court outcome. So I think it'll be a lot tighter than what the market suggests.
Another player also making his debut for the Storm, Paul Preston Conn. He's that unknown that there's no photo of him on the NRL website.
Just the silhouette. So it probably shows why the Storm are at risk. And no disrespect to Mr. Conn, but they're stretched very thin, the Storm, and that might explain why they went to such lengths to get Zac Lomax. They wouldn't want many injuries because there's not a whole lot in the cupboard. Old Mother Hubbard would blush, I think, at the moment with the Storm's reserve stocks.
Friday night, Paul, kicks off with the Warriors playing the Roosters in Auckland. How do you see that one going?
I think the Roosters just. I'm very interested to see how Cherry Evans goes. It'll be very strange to see him in a non-maroon jersey. And Sam Walker, I think, will be the difference in that game. Metcalf back for the Warriors, massive in, but I think the Roosters should win that.
Tell me, Paul, how many hyphenated names in the Warriors run-on side?
Oh, you're looking at 7 or 8. I think there could be a betting market on that. There's a lot. But, if you've got a short name, you're not getting in over there. Yeah, it's good for the game, though, for the Warriors to go, well, I did pick them to make the 8 this year, but I don't think it'll start this week.
All right, Paul, the second game, the Premiers, the reigning Premiers, the Broncos, take on the Panthers, who had an ordinary season last year by their standards. A tough one to start at Suncorp Stadium for the Panthers.
I actually think the Panthers might win this, and the reason for that is this. If you look at that World Club Challenge, Hull that won that, who beat Brisbane, was absolutely smoked in Vegas. Obviously, the Broncos had some time to recover from that bruising encounter, but I just think the Panthers might be a bit too clinical for the Broncos and ambush them up there at Brisbane.
Wow, that's a big one, Paul. I'm just looking at the lineup. Reece Walsh, Katoni Staggs, Guillemot, Shipazaki, Ezra Mam. There's some try scoring there.
There's also a guy named Ben Cleary for the Panthers. So I think that that will always be guaranteed to keep it close, especially with his dad, Australia's finest counsel, in his corner. I think that the Panthers might just get them unawares. It'll be a great game to watch to kick the Friday night footy off.
All right, Saturday night double. The Sharks at Shark Park taking on the Titans.
Well, I used to give the Giraffe Guarantee out only on sort of $1.50 pops or more, but the Sharks will win. and they'll win well against the Titans. If you want to call it a guarantee, you can. I think we'll save it to one around that, Professor. We'll just mark that as a side note for those who want to just park some of their super, perhaps. But I think the Sharks will be too strong for the Titans. They are improving there. I like what I'm hearing from Josh Hannay, their coach. They're creating a culture there. They've got players re-signing, which is always a good sign that there's faith in the club from the playing stock. But it'll be an interesting matchup, that one. I think the Sharks will be too good, though.
And the later game, the Sea Eagles at Fortress Brookvale, taking on probably a disappointing team in the finals, Canberra Raiders, who'd be looking to attain for their straight sets, their straight sets out in last year's final series.
Yeah, we covered it last week. The two teams I'm worried about, and no offence to the fans at Cowboys and Manly, I think the Raiders will win this. They were last year's minor premiers. Yes, they've lost their halfback, but I think there's some worrying signs at Manly this year, and this market's close for a reason. I'm tipping the Raiders.
The Raiders won't be able to get over the Trebojevic trio.
Yeah, I just think there's some issues at that club, and that's one of the two coaches most under threat is Anthony Seibold. But we will see what happens. If they lose this match, they've got a tough little run after that, Manly. So it could be a tough year, unfortunately.
Your team picked for top spot this year, Paul, the Dolphins, taking on your club, the Rabbitohs, at Suncorp. How do you see this one going?
Well, if I had a sizable ego, I'd want the Dolphins to win to show that I'm on the right track, but the heart overrules everything. I actually think the Dolphins will win this. I do like the Rabbitohs team, and we're building, as we said, for next year. But I think the Dolphins at home will be just too strong. Suncorp Stadium, actually, this one's at. So I just think that they'll have the home crowd. Rabbitohs are good, but it'll take some time to get going, I think.
First time in 18 months, Paul, that Latrell Mitchell, Katie Walker, Cameron Murray and Jack Whiten have all been on the field at the same time. That probably plays into your confidence in your selection.
It does, but I do think the Dolphins will win in this match. So I think the Rabbitohs will build and they'll be in the 8. But this game, I think, just will show how impressive the Dolphins are. That the team is amazing. Any team with Trey Fuller on the bench who's going to be absolutely amazing this year, I think that, and they've got Flegler and Gilbert. I mean, it's stars galore. The lock, Morgan Knowles, is a great player as well. Katoa was the best halfback in the comp last year. So I just think they'll be too strong, the Dolphins.
Let's look at the Giraffe Guarantee for last week, Paul. Successful, hard in the mouth stuff though.
It was, and as I said, the Sharks will win this week, but we'll save it to one a week. That's enough pressure. It was a big performance by the Dragons, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. They'll be a good team this year, much better than expected, but I'm still not tipping them to go anywhere near the end.
All right, Paul, that's all for the Scrum feed this week. We'll talk rugby league again next week.
Good stuff. Thank you.